Hello and welcome back to Oxygen Not Included. Here is episode 28 here on Serene Space Rock. This is cycle 581. Now, I will tell you right off the bat that this video is going to be different than every video that I've recorded so far. So usually what I do is I play the game, speak my mind as I play the game, and then cut it down into manageable chunks with all the boring stuff missing, and then I give that to you guys to watch and enjoy. This video, however, I recorded for over 2.5 hours just to come to the conclusion that when I went to edit it, that my voice was no longer there, and that is because I had my microphone turned off the entire time. Now, because I can't just very well go back and redo all of this all over again, I figured what I'm going to do is I'm going to give my voiceover like this throughout the certain important bits that happened, kind of put it all together in a nice little condensed format for you guys so you don't have to sit here for 2.5 hours to see what I actually did, and then you can watch it, see what happened, and maybe, I don't know, maybe you'll like this format better than my other formats that I've had where it's been a cut down gameplay. So let me know down in the comments what you think. This was done by mistake, not intentional, but maybe if you guys like this better, I could do the rest of them this way. Alright, so first off, what I decided to do here was to get that, as you can see on the screen, I was trying to get that natural gas and that polluted oxygen out of that room, so that way the steam generator would run. And to do that, I was going to build a gas pump in there, put a gas filter in there, and then pump out only the polluted stuff from the gas filter into a tank into the room next door, and then let the steam just return through the yellow side of the filter. So filter only steam back into that room while filtering everything else out of that room that went into just a random storage tank. So I'll fast forward to where that's actually finished. And there you go, all nice and pretty, all finished. Pump into filter, into vent, and then alternatively into an insulated tile room where the tank is sitting. That was my plan. Moving on. Alrighty, it was at this moment while I was looking at the balmy temperatures inside our little refinery room that I then scrolled down and noticed that inside, see that little big red thing there on the bottom right? There it is. For some reason, those are getting insanely hot. Those storage containers should be cold. Remember a few episodes ago when I said, oh, I wonder if they're actually going to put the regolith in those containers. And then I blew it off like they weren't going to put the regolith in those containers. Meanwhile, ordering them to sweep up all the regolith in the search for the glass that would come off of all my broken glass blocks that I put up there to try to block meteors, which also didn't work. There's the regolith. They decided that they were going to take that regolith, shove it all down here in its extremely hot state, and warm everything up like a nice peachy oven. So I decided to copy settings, change it so that no regolith was to get stored in those containers, thereby, in my mind, kicking it out of those containers, and then I tried to find a place where it would be a good place to build more storage boxes to put the regolith where it would not be in an area that I want to try to keep cold. And there we have it. This is that area. I decided to build them right up here underneath the solar panels under the assumption that as the meteors fell and as I cleared the surface of the regolith, it wouldn't be too far of a walk for them to walk down the little bit of ladder and to shove it all in there. Once those containers are all built, I'm going to set them all just to be for regolith and nothing else. And there you have it. I have 3 built. One of them is already half full, and this is a couple days later, and many priority 9 cleanups and sweeps later, they've piled it all up in there where it belongs. And there you go, a few cycles later, and the pump is working. It's pumping into that filter, which I did not have designated as steam yet, so unfortunately it did pump a little steam straight on through, which is about to enter that tank. But it did push out a very little amount of polluted oxygen before it got clogs right there and backlogged with the steam vent. So hopefully that's a little bit to help. That isn't really the biggest problem I'm having right now. I think the bigger problem is that my steam is currently not hot enough to actually be used. If you look at it, it says like 217 degrees, and the steam needs to be actually like 257 degrees to actually be usable by the steam generator to produce power. I do have that fourth aqua tuner in there, so I'm hoping that will provide a little bit more heat. Plus, it is pumping a little bit of water in there. I mean, every ounce of water that I did have in there is evaporated. So I think the steam turbine turned on when I wasn't paying attention, cooled down the steam, if I had to bet, and after it cooled it down, it hasn't been able to regain in temperature. It could be partially, in retrospect, because I have that vent above the ladder consistently pumping in small amounts of water, where I should just let that room overheat and shut that vent off, which is something I might look into doing the next time I play. I also ended up noticing that there was a geyser right here behind where my secondary steam generator steam turbine was going to be above the refinery. You can see it's there because there's a little bit of neutronium right there. So I sent them out to dig on this one, as well as a few of other little geysers that I was trying to actually just not dig out completely, but just dig out enough to see what's there. And here it comes, moment of truth. Only one more block left to break. Place your bets. What type of geyser is it going to be? It is going to be a carbon dioxide vent. A vent of mainly useless gas that I don't have any use for, or if it isn't useless, I don't know what it is used for currently, and I also have a surplus of it, so that is staying buried. And several cycles later, you can see that I was still going full gung-ho on my quest for solar energy, and the problem with that being is that the meteors are still coming down to destroy them, although I am getting quite a lot of power out of them. My thought process was use them as much as possible, repair with the glass that falls off of them, and just keep building them. Dig it up, rebuild, fix, keep using the power from them. But as I've read in the comments, big thank you to the people who have been giving me hints, is that there's further research needed, further development needed, materials I don't yet have from either the blast shot or some sort of automated stuff to protect those from meteors, which I haven't done yet. Now if I scroll over to here a little bit, carbon dioxide geyser. There you go, guys, another carbon dioxide geyser. Another one of those things I really don't need. I am so flooded with carbon dioxide, and I have access to 2 more. And then we found a volcano right there next to the base. Cancel that digging. Molten magma at 3,143 degrees. That is fun. The good thing about the volcano that I was thinking, though, is that could actually be useful in a scenario where I'm going to use that heat already right there from the glass and from the metal refinery to power a steam turbine. I could just steamify some water with that magma. That's going to turn it right to steam, and that will give me a large amount of power. It's also going to be a lot of heat, though, so I have to be prepared for the eventuality that I can use it. And I'm not really sure how to use igneous rock or rock gas other than to build like pipes and stuff like that. So I did some reading up on it on here in the little book. Didn't really tell me a whole lot, other than it is insanely hot. As you can see, temperatures in the magma biome can reach upwards of 1,526 degrees, making it a reliable source of extreme heat that can be exploited for the purposes of producing power and fuel. However, magma is a source of extreme heat which can be used to transform water into steam or crude oil and petroleum. In order to prevent the extreme temperatures of this biome invading other parts of my base, suitable insulation must be constructed using materials with high melting points like ceramic or obsidian. Though exosuits will provide some protections for my dupes, there is still a danger they will overheat if spending an extended amount of time in this biome. I should ensure that there is suitable medical facilities have been constructed nearby to take care of any medical emergencies. After reading that, I am kind of putting off going in there because I don't want all my dupes to die. It is also right above my base, so I do need to finish insulating a lot around it, just in case one insulated tile is not enough. I will admit there is that vein of abyssalite all the way around it, so that could be good. Unfortunately, I already tapped into the bottom edge of that abyssalite vein to get to the geyser initially. So it's not as secure as it once was. I also discovered this other part of neutronium right there in that slime biome, right to the bottom left of the map, or at least to the bottom left of where I've explored. And so I decided to put out a path to get to that, to try to find out what type of geyser that actually was. It was around this time that I realized that I was once again running low on water, seeing as that I was not able to cool and take the water that was coming out of that saltwater geyser and desalinate it fast enough for all of my needs. So I decided that I was going to start working on this little steam vent here, this cool steam vent, and try to capture that water. Unfortunately, that steam vent is currently dormant anyway, so it wouldn't be of any use. So I decided, well, I already have a source of water over here, so maybe instead I should be focusing on the salt water. But my problem with the salt water is that I don't have enough power to run the aqua tuners consistently. It all comes down to where if I had more power, I could run the aqua tuners more. If I could run the aqua tuners more, I'd have more cold water going in the desalinators, which would be more water going down into there. And right now my biggest water draw is the hydroponic tiles, which I do get around to messing with shortly. And I start to build my farm for my shovels, or at least planning that out. You can see here that the solar panels are not doing well. But my plan was to just dig them out and repair. Again, in retrospect, not the greatest plan, especially after reading some of you guys' comments, but this is what I was thinking at the time when I recorded this. And then after coming to the cold realization that my solar panels would not produce me with an infinite supply of power, or even a reliable supply of power while they were consistently being broken, I thought that, well, if I'm going to start cooling more water with more aqua tuners over there, it probably won't be that good of an idea, because those aqua tuners require power. And seeing as that I was already had known issues with the already existing steam generator, and I need water sooner than later, I decided to go south to the polluted water biome and to just work on just getting a pump into that tank, cleaning out some more of that slime, and getting that to start pumping up into the base where it belongs. Alrighty, remember when I said that I was going to actually make my shovel farm, or at least plan it out during this episode? Well, after realizing that the majority of the water that I was using was going towards hydroponics, I figured I might as well, and also seeing that I have an unlimited or near unlimited supply of regolith as well, that I should at least plan out a place for the shovels to go as soon as possible. Now, seeing as that shovels and regolith are both very hot, I decided that I was going to build this room/farm for them out of insulated tiles as an outer perimeter block, and then do refined metal tiles as an inner perimeter block. So that way they could not dig through the refined metal, but seeing as that I looked and it said that refined metal tiles actually transmit heat much faster than any conventional base tile, I figured it was a better plan for me to go right ahead and insulate and just waste double the blocks. I am placing those ladders wrong. I do fix it, don't worry. And then all my poor little Drecos of what's in this area is going to be relocated. Unfortunately, I wasn't looking to do that initially, but I wanted a central location where they were going to be sort of close to the base to be taken care of, and not actually in the base because of the heat, and I needed enough space to I need to farm quite a few of them. I'm assuming for the food, if I want to go completely over to shovel farming, put a couple incubators in there. And there we go, a quick little jump cut. And isn't that the most beautiful little shovel farm you ever did see in your whole life? Probably not, but that's what I planned out, and I think it looks pretty good. It's also in a central location, easy to access, well insulated. How bad could it be? Okay, fast forward another cycle, and I found out that my natural gas generators actually had stopped working because once again they had filled that tank all the way up with carbon dioxide, and it was preventing them from actually pumping any natural gas into the generators where it belonged. So I was going to build a couple more tanks here, so that way the natural gas was a little more free-flowing instead of just backing up in the pipe like it was. And I'll just empty the tanks out and do something with it later. Maybe pump it into a room and just carbon skim it, or maybe just vent it out and then carbon skim it, or maybe I'll use it later. I mean, I have two carbon dioxide vents as well, so maybe later on I'll have a use for all this carbon dioxide that I don't currently. And there we go. Now seeing that everything's up and running, might as well build another gas tank in this location, which I completely forgot about up until now when I seen it, but I did clear that out to put another natural gas tank in. I just never did it, so now I can build that in there. Alrighty, after nearly running out of food, almost running out of water, and being dangerously low on all of my metals, scouring the map to look for those metals, and then sending dig orders out to actually go collect those metals so I could get more water / more food, I actually seen this little block of neutronium here in my Draco farm. There's a freaking geyser right there. I didn't know that. I don't know how I didn't notice that before. Maybe I did notice it and I didn't know what the neutronium was, but I did figure it out now. So, of course, I sent somebody up there to dig that out a little bit. While we're here, you can also see that the reason that I'm running low on food is because my bristle blossoms are not being irrigated. And they're not being irrigated because there's no water for the pump to move. There's no water for the pump to move because my desalinators are not pumping enough water because it's not cold enough. And it's not cold enough because my aqua tuners are not running all the time to pump the salt water that's just sitting there in a vat through them. And the reason they're not running all the time is, of course, because I don't have enough electricity to keep them running consistently. Alrighty, it's once again time for Geyser Guessing here on Serene Space Rock. Place your bets. What's in with the Dracos? Here we go. It is a coal slush geyser. That sounds amazing. Cold and water at the same time for free? That's amazing. That's exactly what I need. Unfortunately, it is directly in my freaking Draco pen, but, you know, what are you going to do? So, with the hot water there above it, cold water right there below it, my thought was to box it off, pump it into a vat over there underneath that big puddle of salt water that I currently have. Maybe cool it down a little bit, to cool the salt water down a little bit, and maybe heat up the frozen polluted water that comes out of it at the same time. It should also be noted that that geyser is dormant, so there's that as a problem, but I mean, it's still a big win, I think, to find a slush geyser. I didn't even know slush geysers were a thing. I figured all geysers were going to be some sort of hot. Having something that actually gives off cold, that's big. That's real big. Also, as another tidbit of information, there is another geyser right there close to that cool slush geyser that I have scrolled past many times, dug right next to, and have somehow not noticed. So if you guys have noticed that already, you probably already have. Congratulations to you guys, but don't worry, I find it before the episode's out. What type of geyser do you think it is? Alrighty, so here we are. My plan was initially to build that airlock, dig down in there, and then dig out around the geyser and see what it was. I didn't think of that I'm going to have to drain it into a tank somewhere anyway, and I'm going to drain it into a tank. Why the heck am I trying to enter in through the room with my Drekos instead of just leaving that as an insulated tile wall, seeing as that it's already surrounded by abyssalite? So I do change my mind. I decided to just insulate that, get rid of that airlock, so that way none of that freezing cold air gets in and potentially hurts my Drekos, and to dig out the tank over right on the right hand side of that abyssalite wall there. And when I was planning that vat for the slush geyser, I noticed that there was another geyser right there. Alrighty, time to check out what type of geyser that really is. And it is a iron volcano. Yep, iron volcano right there underneath a salt geyser and right beside a cool slush geyser. This is good. I think this is good. This could be bad, but I think it's good. If I separate those two, my thoughts were is maybe I could use the cool slush to cool down the iron, which is unfortunately coming out of there at 4,500 degrees, which is even hotter than the molten rock coming out of the magma one over on the left side of the base. So on the upside, I have a new geyser to play with. On the downside, it's going to be highly dangerous. So my thought was to just leave that one be, don't mess with that, cancel that digging, and instead dig up to the cool slush geyser, divvy up a tank to where if that goes active, I could start using that cool water immediately, and it will start cooling down the immediate area. Even the water, I would assume it's even going to start cooling down the area where the salt water is. Okay, a few days later, and polluted water is starting to flow out of that pump. The wire's all hooked up. It's up to the new transformer that I built because all my other wires are pretty much operating at capacity. But that pump should be able to run almost consistently, pumping a large amount of polluted water that's there through there, all the way over to my polluted water vat, which is going to fill up, sieve out, and give me some more water on top of the other water that I have working on. That was really big. That took a lot of worry off because, again, I don't want to just randomly run out of food. I've had that happen before. I don't want that to happen again. So that's pretty big. And I know I do have 26,000 calories, but that is, you got to admit, that is pretty low. I'd like to see, 6 digits in calories, 100,000 or 80,000, not 26,000. That's only a day. Because they eat like 2,000 calories a day, and that's 10 dupes, so that's 1 day's worth of food almost. Also, you can see that I've got my tank alt kind of planned out here. Alrighty, now you can actually see that my polluted water is working on and off depending on the power situation, but there is polluted water pumping. Polluted water is being sieved. It is giving me a little bit of water, but not a consistent amount to where my plants are always growing. They're almost always growing, which is better, but it's not exactly where they need to be. I do need to get the shovel farm up and actually running. You can see over here where the tank is mostly cleared out. I ended up deleting those base tiles. I don't honestly remember why I deleted them instead of leaving them there so that they could get all that out, but my initial plan was to dig that out to get to it right away this episode, but I didn't end up getting to that because of the amount of time it took to dig all of that out. As far as some other little things, the natural gas power plants both are up and running as far as I know. I do have that iron volcano there. That's very interesting. I think that's a source of power right there alone. If it's 4,000 degrees, that should be able to turn stuff directly into steam, which will fix my steam generator. So I have several different little options what I can do. Solar panels, yeah, they're not going the greatest. I mean, you can see that. But all in all, that's about what I accomplished in this episode. Like I said, this is something completely new for me, taking a recording and then actually doing a voiceover over top of it. And I never intended to do scripted videos or to actually plan out what I was going to do. My initial plan was to play a game, cut out all the boring bits so that way you guys don't have to sit through them, and that way you guys can just sit here and play the game and see where I'm thinking, and just see a normal person play a game, and that was what I was looking for. But I will admit I got a lot more done in this episode in a very short amount of time because I was able to cut out a lot more. Maybe it was more entertaining, maybe it was not more entertaining. That's going to be for you guys to decide. So let me know down in the comments. Did you like the voiceover and kind of like just get to the point, tell me what you did aspect more, or would you rather like sit there and see more of what my thoughts are at the time that I'm making the decisions in the game? Or do you have any other suggestions or comments you'd like to make about the game or other games you'd like to see me play? Let me know what you think in the comments. Like always, if you've been sitting here and you've enjoyed the video, leave a like if you like the stuff that I'm doing. If you want to see more of this, please subscribe. I really do appreciate it. Again, thanks a lot for watching. I really do appreciate you guys hanging out with me and watching me play this game and seeing where I'm going, and all the hints and suggestions and likes and subs that I've gotten so far. I am so grateful for. I do apologize for this video being a little late. It has taken me a little bit longer than I anticipated to try to figure out what exactly I wanted to do with it, because like I said, it wasn't intentionally recorded like this. I played the game, I was talking to myself for 2.5 hours, and I was thinking, oh yeah, I'm just recording, like fine, and I have no idea how, when I look down at OBS, that I had my mic muted, and the entire time I was just talking to nothing. So in that regards, thanks for being patient. Thanks for watching all the videos. If you have been watching them, if you haven't been watching them, and this is your first one you've watched, and you either think it stunk or you liked it, you might want to look at some of my like last episode or the episode before that, where it's a little bit different than this one. All that being said, this has probably been an overly long outro, and if you've made it all the way through this, thanks again, and I will see you guys in the next video.